Good morning and welcome to My Tea for the Week. It's your girl Valerie Locust, and thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Today we have a great topic awaiting everybody. We're going to be talking about setting healthy boundaries. And for most of us, if not all of us, at one time or another have had a problem or did not realize that we even had a right to have boundaries. But boundaries have been around as long as we have. Even as babies, when you think about a baby, you look at that baby. That baby, you might want to hold him, or him or her might want to hold her. And that baby, because it don't know you, have never seen you, is not comfortable. So when we go to pick that baby up, the first thing that baby is going to do is cry. Why? Because we've overstepped that baby's level of comfortability. The baby's going to look around for something that's comfortable or familiar. And so even with babies, the thought of having boundaries have been a core part of our inner being, our self-identity. So today we want to talk about setting healthy boundaries. And I have with me today a very good friend of mine, Miss Valerie Tucker. You're going to hear from her very shortly. Valerie is a mother of one amazing daughter, the grandmother Gigi, as she's affectionately called by her adorable twin grandsons. She has a passion for hurting people. She has been gifted by God to pour into the lives of others, to encourage them, to keep them holding on, and not to ever give up, give in, or quit. One of the most important things she has learned is this: her pain has not been in vain. Today, Valerie is loving the life she's living and, more importantly, growing in it as she lives it. She often states that she is truly living her best days. She has her bachelor degree in social work. She loves to travel, play cards, spend quality time with family and friends. Her dream job is to be compensated as she travels all over the country, empowering others as a motivational speaker. And for this, I say thank you. I say good morning. It's two of us on here today.
Good morning.
Glad for you to take your time to come and sit with us. She has so much to say, full of wisdom. I love her. I trust her with my life. We work together. We just gonna be candid. We're gonna have fun with this segment today, but we have something that's very important. And so, Val, just if you like, I put on here what I wanted them to know. But is there something else you'd like to say about what you do, who you are?
Just that I love what I do. I love living and learning how to, learning the importance of putting boundaries in place. Like she said before, I was one that did not always have healthy boundaries and at times struggled, but it is so imperative that we do put those in place so we can live the life that God's called us to live.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so when we're talking about boundaries, somebody might be asking, what are boundaries? Because, sometimes even with boundaries, we know as an individual what makes us comfortable, what makes us not comfortable, but because certain things have been set in place from us from being children. Say for instance, you may have a relative or somebody that comes into your home and you don't know them, but as a kid, your mother might say, go give them a hug. And that boundary, that wall that we already have up, it was compromised because we had to step over what we felt to do what we were told by the authoritative figure. So a lot of times our boundaries are starting to be
pushed to where we're not comfortable.
Not comfortable.
But we walk those out because of the elders or other people have set them for us.
That's exactly right. And so then it makes sense then to say by the time we get adulthood, if we've done this over and over and over all through our childhood, because I don't know about you, but in my house, we were always told to do what you were told, not to ask no questions. You do what you were told, and it crossed a lot of boundaries, our boundaries, because boundaries are more or less rules that we set up for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Within, whether it's work related, home related, even church related.
Absolutely.
Personal boundaries are for us.
Absolutely.
It spills over into the relationships that you're in, because as we set boundaries, then it becomes also boundary setting for the other person that we're part of, that we're having that relationship with. Right. So if we're told from children growing up, that you do what I say and not what you want to say, it pretty much takes away our voice.
Absolutely.
It damages your self-esteem. It makes you learn how not to be able to set or have healthy choices for yourself, or not take responsibility for yourself. All of these things are set in place, set in motion when we do not understand the importance or the significance of having boundaries. So Val, in your line of work, what you do, how do you separate? Well, let me ask you this first.
Okay.
Is it fair to say that there are different types of boundaries that you set, be it work-related, personal boundaries?
Absolutely. There is times where in any relationship, in any interaction with people, consistently is a relationship.
That's exactly right.
And so in any of those, you really have to look and decide. What I do for a living professionally, I'm a social worker, and so I go in homes, and sometimes you have to help people understand they have a voice, because again, as you said, they've been taught, and because you come in as an authority in the position that you represent, people feel they can't say what they need to. And so in different relationships and different environments, you really have to think about your boundaries and how do you help. I try to look at how do I help other people have or set boundaries within our relationship as peer professional or peer workers. People expect a lot of times that they can say and do whatever, but you teach people how to treat you by what you put in place.
That's exactly right.
But you also have to learn what's important to you. And a lot of times people have not identified why they tolerate or allow certain things. And what you said previously with reference to it being taught. As
That's
children,
exactly right.
we teach children to be, I come from old school, to be seen and not heard, to respect the elders. Uncle Billy come in and you don't have a good feeling about Uncle Billy, but you got to hug him.
You got to hug. That's right.
And so you're, at that time, you're teaching a child that their feelings don't matter, and boundaries is about feelings.
That's exactly right. Yes.
And learning how to say that I'm not comfortable with that, or I prefer not to do that, or can I shake your hand versus hugging. It depends on your culture.
That's exactly
and so
right.
you have to look at all those things when you're looking at how to determine what's best for you.
Best for you, because as we said in the start of the segment, boundaries are really for you.
Absolutely.
It's the care of yourself for you, that core you, your identity, And when we don't have or feel we don't have the right to stand on the boundaries that we establish for ourselves, what we find ourselves doing too is keep stepping back, because we are not, at that point, we're not sure. We're not.
You're not trusting what you feel.
That's right. And then, I was even thinking when I was trying to put this stuff together, I said, it makes so much sense now, even when children are being sexually abused or something like that, because the adult, the ones who's supposed to be taking care of you or teaching you right, they are the one who are perpetrating. So they're the one who are causing your boundaries that shut mouth and step back, and you got to make sure you feel. Let me ask you this, because I was always brought up, and it's so much of this stuff is starting to make sense to me, is that you always put other people's feelings above your own. You always try to make sure everybody else is right, even though you don't want to be the offender, but you are being offended all the time.
Absolutely.
And
Val, I think one of the biggest problems is that we teach children, we love them, and we're trying to teach them correctly, but we're not understanding a lot of times because we were never taught.
That's exactly right.
And so it's hard to give something you don't know.
That's right.
Or something you've never really looked at in yourself.
That's
and
right.
so we tend to give back what was given to us.
That's right.
Subconsciously.
That's right. Absolutely.
I don't think parents, for the most part, wake up and say, I'm going to do my child, or I'm going to hurt someone. However, because they have not really reflected on what was important to them or how it got disconnected, that they just keep rolling with it. And so you have this big boulder that now you're trying to unravel, and you wonder why you allow people to push you so far when you know that's not really what you want.
That's right. That's right.
When you allow, even as co-workers, you just say yes when you really don't want to do that.
That's right. Are you
Girl.
Are you trying to throw
No,
something?
I'm not. I'm not throwing shade. I am not.
I kind of think so. I'm kind of feeling some kind of
Well,
way. You
let's
overstepping
tell
my
the
boundary.
No, So I apologize because I'm gonna show you how to set them appropriately. And so we're laughing because I told her that I need to ask more questions before I say yes. But
Yes,
that's
you
not what I was referring to. No, I'm saying
boy.
when we talk about different relationships, you have relationships with your significant other as adults. You have it with your parents. You have it with your siblings. You have it with coworkers. You have it with people in the stores when you go in. Customer service is everything.
Yes.
And so when you in any interaction you have with people, you have to set the boundary. What's too close?
That's exactly right.
Personal space is a boundary.
That's right.
It's learning how to say I'm not comfortable with that.
That's right.
A lot of people don't understand their voice matters, and so they tend not to speak up when they want to.
That's right.
One of the things I think has happened with a lot of people in our generation is because we were old school to be seen and not heard. A lot of things we live with and just kept rolling.
And kept rolling. That's right.
At some point, it start oozing because it's not who we are and what we want.
That's right.
And so trying to learn how to start standing up and say that's not acceptable in a way that people hear you.
That's right.
And respect that. But one of the things I'm learning more than anything is whether they respect it or not, you have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Your voice matters,
Yes,
and you learning what you like and really standing for that is so imperative to be your best
And to be
give.
healthy.
Absolutely. And to give that to others.
That's right.
And then you become an example of how to heal.
That's right. I was actually, when you were saying that, Val, I was thinking, that's the reason why a lot of time relationships do fail, is because we don't feel, or we don't know how to express what we need or what we want. So we just allow people to dump on us. We don't know when to say, hey, stop, wait, that's too much, because we don't want to be offensive. But in order for you to be healthy, for me to be healthy, and for the relationship to be healthy, I have to learn how to say what I need, what I want from you, what's too much for me, and you have to be able to do the same. And we have to come to an agreement that it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
And most of the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it to get people to hear you.
That is true.
The other thing I think that hinders that sometimes is that because you've felt in the past you haven't been heard, that you assume that you're not going to be heard again.
Absolutely.
So you just don't say nothing until it's up to here.
That's right.
Instead of you've let it get to 100, instead of when it's at a 1 or 2, say, hey, we need to talk about this. This I don't like. And what I've learned, and I say all the time, I do know any relationship that I'm in has the possibility of hurting me.
Absolutely.
Because
That
we're
is
coming
true.
from different
Yes.
experiences, different backgrounds.
That's right.
And so it's not if you do me, because at some point you will, because we're human.
That's right.
But it's when you do me and I tell you, your response to that tells me that's that healthy piece of
That's
it.
the healthy piece. That's
Is being
right.
able to say, hey, Val, I'm using you as an example. Hey, Val, that... this doesn't really apply. I'm using you because we here.
Okay. All right, I'm a big girl. What you saying now?
I'm using you because we here. If I come to you and say, Val, this hurt my feelings, I didn't like that.
Right.
Your response tells me everything.
Absolutely.
If you say, Val, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize it, then we're going to keep it moving.
That's right.
But when you start saying, oh, you shouldn't have said this, or you start minimizing or dismissing my feelings, then that tells me you're not respecting me. So that means I need to look at my boundary with you is how far further we're going to go.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I am a believer that one of my mantras is that I have a sandbox everybody can't play in.
That's right. That's right.
Because everybody don't know how to play nice dice.
That's right, Val.
And it's okay
That's
to
right.
say that.
That's,
I was brought up that I felt like, and that's one of the reasons I do things the way I do it, I feel like I didn't have a voice for years.
Absolutely.
And that
That's right.
old school, you respect your elders and all that, and family's everything. But when I start questioning if my family's doing me, how am I supposed to play nice dice with them?
Right.
And so I really had to take an honest look at it. And then as I keep growing and healing and recognizing it's okay to say that's not acceptable. Again, it's not in the saying, it's in the response of
It's
the
in
person.
the response, yes.
Which tells you next how to move with
That's
them.
right. Because truthfully, if we never set boundaries, clear boundaries,
Correct.
you're almost doing an injustice to you and the other person, because that's just like if I invite you over and if you bring the babies with you and they over there jumping and flipping all over my furniture and going over there picking up my little figurines and I don't say anything.
Correct.
Then I can't get mad when they keep doing it and then they go doing somersaults down the hall because I didn't set those boundaries. But if they came in there the first time you came over and you brought them and they did it and I said, no, baby, can't play with that.
Absolutely.
The next time they come, they know those boundaries have been set.
Absolutely.
Now, they might go try to fix something else because boundaries will be tested.
Absolutely.
So they might not do that particular thing, but then if they go there and start pulling on my curtain, baby, no, you can't pull on those. You'll tear that down. And then explain to them why it is that these boundaries are set. That will help them.
Well,
and you.
Well, that's true to a point for me, because sometimes a no is complete. If I tell you no, I don't have to tell you not to touch my stuff again.
That's right.
Because it's mine.
That's yours. That's exactly
However,
right.
you know, one of the things when you were saying, and I was thinking as kids, we tell kids to respect elders, but do we tell elders to respect a child?
No, we don't.
When I say that, they are children who we need to be an example and to teach them how to live in a healthy boundary. What is a boundary? What are the problems, I think, in our society at this point is that everything goes, and that's not real.
That is right. Absolutely.
And that's not healthy.
That's right.
When you're looking at it, we start teaching children early about relationships.
Yes.
And one of the things I love is that a child's place to learn how to navigate systems is in the home.
Absolutely.
By pushing those boundaries. So when you talked about them coming over and doing it and pushing, they have to push it. But as adults, as parents, as mentors, you have to tell them how far they could go with that.
Right. But then it goes back to what you said a little bit ago. They can't teach what they weren't taught. So in some instances, that's why I guess that one saying, people say it takes a village to raise a kid.
Absolutely.
A child, because a lot of times, you know, our parents is from old school,
right?
You know, where the mothers didn't work, the fathers was the breadwinner, but now you got the mothers doing both.
Absolutely.
You know, and so sometimes it brings in a whole total different dynamic to the family structure. But somebody still have to be the one who teach the younger ones, and as we're learning ourselves, how to set healthy boundaries. Because another thing I was thinking about, even, you know, when I was trying to prepare, I was like, you know, God, I said, boundaries, they're necessary. Therefore, it's like your soul stuff. For you to be healthy, your total you to be healthy, these boundaries are necessary. Even if nobody ever want to respect them, even if nobody, you know, if they keep pushing these buttons trying to get around it, if we stand on the boundaries that we set for ourselves, Val, we would be totally in good health, healthy. We're healthy from the inside out, because that's where the boundaries start, from the inside, and then we make it evident by what we do on the outside. So, yeah. I mean,
a lot of that, to piggyback on that, a lot of that is when you don't set healthy boundaries and you're allowing, like the example you gave, the kids come over and you allow it, you're fuming inside. Your blood pressure is going up because these kids, and especially if you don't say anything. That's right. And then when you leave, when we leave, you all mad. I'm not bringing them back over because, to begin with, if anybody bring a child, they should already start saying, don't go in there doing that.
Right, that's right.
However,
that's right.
Being able to say to whomever you socialize, and that's why your inner circle. So when you talk about relationships, there's different levels of relationships.
Absolutely.
And then recognizing who you're going to bring into your inner circle.
That's exactly right. That's true.
Your inner play box is that those people that you know will respect your no, that you know will respect your boundaries, that if you say to them, this is not comfortable, or I prefer you don't do that, that they will respect that and not dismiss your feelings. That helps when people really start looking at those kind of statements, help you really identify what's important to you. But one of the problems I think I see with our society and as people, most people roll with life. They don't really reflect on life.
I like that. That's true.
And so when I say that, they're just rolling, they just keep it going. I'm trying to make a living. But until you start really reflecting on why that affected me, why that hurt me, why that bothered me, then you don't really grow to really be able to identify what you really like or don't.
And most of us don't do that.
Absolutely.
Until, like you said, until it hits you up here, and then it comes out the wrong way.
Correct.
But that is so true. That is so true. And, you know, a lot in life itself, sometimes life just keep us on this merry-go-round, like you ain't got time to think about nothing. You trying to see what you need to do for the next thing. And as you said, we don't take the time to reflect how this is affecting me, how this is affecting me, how this don't affect me, how this should affect me. We just keep it moving. And we're just like a ball of confusion.
But the problem that
Jesus,
it comes to that is the boundaries.
When
you say we just keep it moving, is that we're
right.
not taking time to go.
That's right.
We're not taking time to exhale. We're not taking time to reflect. We feel like, especially for those of us who are caregivers or nurtured by nature. I am a nurturer by nature.
Absolutely.
That's what I do.
That's absolutely right.
And because I've lived that so long, for me now to say, wait a minute, that's not okay. I'm not accountable. What God had to deal with me on is that He don't need help. He got this.
That's right. Absolutely.
And I'm always feeling like I got to do this and I got to do that. And so you run and run and run. And I'm not really reflecting that I'm tired or
right.
I push myself. But ironically, when you don't have healthy boundary, you'll push yourself for everybody else.
That's right.
But you won't for yourself.
Not for yourself. That is true. And that is why we're having this conversation today, because I know for myself, I have been like that forever. You know, I grew up always feeling like I had to make sure everybody was okay. And this is the other thing, not realizing it until I was doing this, that I did it to my daughter.
Absolutely.
I put her in positions and places that she shouldn't have. It wasn't her responsibility because I had children in my marriages, but it was not her responsibility because it was not her problem that I felt that I needed to work 2 jobs to make sure everybody was okay. But I put her in, I overstepped her boundary. She was a kid herself. She shouldn't have been forced to make sure this one got their homework. This, you know, her boundaries were compromised. Well, and she felt, of course, being a kid, she wasn't going to say, Mama, I'm not going to do it, or Mama, I can't do it, but she pushed herself. And so where she is now today, she's still the same way. So now I'm trying to backpedal to say, Tequila, you need time for yourself. Tequila, you don't have to do that. Tequila, but it's almost like it's been imprinted in her mind.
It's a mindset.
That she has to do these
and
things.
And then she has to be able to feel... She has to really evaluate how that really makes her feel. Just like with us. We've had, there's situations that make us step back and say, oh, wait a minute. I have a friend that we went through some things and she said to me, this is who I always was, and everybody ain't gonna do it your way. And then it really made me take that, because she was absolutely right. But it wasn't her fault that I regurgitated who I am, because that's how I've lived for years.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't have healthy boundaries. I wasn't saying, I prefer not to do that, or I'm not doing that. And so I just keep doing it because I felt obligated.
You felt obligated.
And so when I start saying no, and I'm learning to respect myself and living like, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to do that.
That's exactly right.
And it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no.
And
that's right.
I'm not accountable for everybody. When you start taking that and really unraveling your own stuff to say, I need to put this here. I need to put this in that box. I need to say that I'm not doing that, or I don't really like them like that, or I prefer not to be
a part of them.
Absolutely. Or I prefer not to play with you because you don't respect me.
You don't respect me.
And when people that you're close to are not used to you putting those healthy boundaries up.
That's right.
They tend to bucket. Who do you think you
are?
That's
exactly right.
But you are a child of God who has the same right as everybody.
That's
and
right.
He does not intend for us to be abused,
That's
neglected,
exactly right.
or sacrificed.
That's for somebody else.
For somebody else, because He did it already.
You better say that.
He did it already.
Right. That's right.
And so I've had to really look at that and understand the sacrifice He paid, so I don't have to keep paying him.
And you know what, Val, I will tell you this too, as we are learning to set those healthy boundaries, it makes you feel good on the inside.
Absolutely.
It makes you feel good to be able to say no when I'm tired, I don't have to keep pushing the envelope. If I'm tired and I say no, then I expect you to respect that. If you don't, it makes me feel good because I've not always been able to do that. I would just keep going. I never forget some years and years and years and years ago, I was a part of a ministry I loved. They were my, I just loved the pastor, the wife, and everything. This has been maybe about 15, 20 years ago. It might even be a little bit longer. But at the time, I felt like because I was a part of that ministry, that inner circle in that ministry, whatever they asked me to do, I did it. Now, mind you, I was still working full time. I still had all my 5 children were at home. I had a whole husband, all of that. But I still, no matter what they asked me to do, I did it. And I got so tired until I started being resentful. I started feeling like I was being taken advantage of. I started saying, why come every time something jump up, they keep asking me? Because I never set those healthy boundaries. I never put in place saying, hey, I can't do this, I got to do that. Not to mention I was in school, going to school at night, all of this. And one day I got so overwhelmed, I went away for a weekend. I told my ex-husband, I took my suitcase, I told him where I was going, I got in that room, I took that suitcase, just dropped it on the floor, got up in that bed, and I just took a sigh of relief. And I started talking. You know how you do, you start venting. I started talking to God, and I was like, God, this just ain't right. Why come this, that, how come can't nobody? And I heard him just as plain Val in a soft voice. He said, I never told you to do all of that.
Absolutely.
And I will never forget that long as I live. And I sat there in that room, Val, and I slept. I slept. But when I went back, I sat down with them and I told them this is what I could do, and I felt good. And just like you said, it wasn't readily accepted because I had been doing it for like 10, I had been in part of ministry like almost 10, 11 years. But they did understand and they did start, taking some of the responsibility back. But it boils down to us setting that. Nobody else can do that for us. We have to be the ones that said, this is how far I can go.
This is how far I want to go.
Or I want to go.
Not can, because...
That's right. And be okay with that.
When you were talking, one of the things I was thinking about is when kids, as parents, we tend to gravitate, if you have multiple kids, you tend to gravitate to the one that's easiest to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because as parents, we overwhelmed, we're busy, we run and we doing. And the ones who's going to give us the least resistance is the one you tend to tap on to depend on the most. However, that's not fair to that person because the other ones get to be skippy happy.
That's how Tequila, and she didn't tell me that until she was grown. She started telling me how that made her feel.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And the thing that I did, which I thank God for, because it's been some years ago when we were just talking, casually talking, and she said, Mama, I used to feel that way when you had to work and I had to take care of all them kids. I never heard that. But it was something when she said it that day as being an adult. But that Lord let me know that she's been carrying that all these years. And what I had to do, I could have just said, well, Tequila, I was working and you were the oldest and blah, blah, blah. But the Lord made me apologize to her. And I told her, I said, Tequila, I am so sorry. Absolutely. I said, I never knew I made you feel like that. She's like, yeah, Mama. And I did. So even when we do it without realizing we're doing it, when it's brought to our attention, the most genuine thing we can say to that person is that I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I never meant to put you in this situation. I didn't realize I put you in this situation. But now that you bring it to my attention, I am so sorry. And then the Bible tells us to be swift to hear, slow to speak. Sometimes we can't always say what we want to say and, without hearing the whole matter. But I thank God that as we're growing and as we're learning and we're doing things, we're learning how to set these healthy boundaries. And one thing, I was trying to just put some things together, but healthy, I was looking at what the outcome of not having boundaries or unhealthy boundaries versus what a healthy boundary will look like.
Okay.
And what I put on here was it helps with our self-esteem.
Absolutely.
It protects our physical and our emotional space. It teaches us how not to allow anything to intrude or impede or stop our healthy place. It helps us to be more confident.
Absolutely.
More assertive and being able to say what we say of a truth. I don't want to do it. Like you said, I just don't want to. Or I can't. Or whatever, and be okay with that and stand on that and don't let nobody push you past that boundary.
Or make you feel guilty.
Or make you feel guilty.
Because you're saying that this is what I can do, and this is what I want to do. And people, when they're used to you always doing, they expect it. And so when you start saying, no, not today, or then they try to make you feel, oh, what's wrong with you? Or
that's right.
That's their stuff.
That is their stuff.
And that is their struggle for whatever their reasons are.
That's right.
But it's recognized that it's okay for you still to hold your position.
Absolutely.
And that it's necessary. It's necessary for you to be the person that you desire to be treated with respect and dignity, and to love yourself like you want to.
Love yourself enough.
Because you can't have other people loving you when you're not really loving you because you tolerated so much stuff.
It also will help you to recognize that your boundaries are maybe different from mine.
Absolutely.
And to be able to accept your boundaries as you accept mine. It also helps us to empower ourselves.
Absolutely.
To be able to take responsibility for ourselves, our lives.
Absolutely.
To be able to be, again, that healthy core person. Now, within our last little few minutes, Val, I had a couple questions.
Okay.
And I know you'll be able to answer them, have no doubt.
If you say so.
Have no doubt.
Okay.
So, for those in our viewing, listening to this topic today, maybe you're finding yourself right in the middle of what we're talking about. You want boundaries. You never realize that you weren't setting your boundaries. You're frustrated. You're resentful. Your self-esteem is been attacked. All of these negative things. So the question I have for you, and maybe we can do it, maybe if we can in 3 to 5 minutes. What information or suggestion could you give to a person who never knew how to set boundaries? It could be from old school, how they was brought up. But now that, listen after the segment today, what they can do to bounce out of that, to get out of that, and to start setting a healthy boundary.
I think one of the things is that they have to identify they want to.
Okay.
And if they do, is really looking at why they have it. A lot of times it's fear of being rejected or fear of not being heard. At that point, they can start speaking to themselves because we are with ourselves more than anybody else. We're 24/7.
Absolutely.
And before, self-talk used to, people had negative connotations about it. But self-talk is one of the most powerful things you could do.
That's right.
Is to encourage yourself and tell yourself you have a right to be heard. You have a right to be respected. You have a right to be seen. You have a right to say no.
Absolutely.
And you don't always have to explain your no. You get to choose. One of the things I've learned in the last 20 years is choice is power.
Yes, it is.
Everything we do is about a choice.
Absolutely.
I can't control what you do, but I can control my response.
That's right.
And saying that is being able to identify that, example, in my family, I didn't always have healthy boundaries because, again, whatever. I was taught that, I lived it, whatever. I'm not blaming anybody. However, I recognized that I wasn't using my voice for me until I was at 100. Now, because it's so important for me, and I think one of the things I recognize more, that God never intended that.
That's right. Absolutely.
He never intended that. And again, not blaming anybody because people give you their best based on where they are.
That's right.
But when you start looking at wanting to set healthy boundaries for you, is recognizing what's important to you. What makes you happy, identifying those things that you enjoy as parents, especially mothers, and I'm not minimizing the father's roles, but as mothers, we give and give and give and do and do.
Absolutely.
We feel like we have to sacrifice everything for our families, for our husbands, for our kids, for our this. Who said that? And recognizing that, and then telling yourself it's okay, even with your kids, to say no.
That's right.
Even with
That's
your
right.
spouse.
That's right.
I had a friend that she was really upset with her husband because he was still going to play ball and all these things, and she's like, she stopped. But who told you to stop?
That's right. That's right.
When we get married or when we're in a relationship, God never wants us to lose us.
No, absolutely not.
And so when you're talking about healthy boundaries, is recognizing where you gave up, where you gave yourself permission to say, I'm going to do this because I want to be a good wife. I want to, but give yourself permission now to say, wait a minute, that's not really working for me.
And with that, in conjunction with that, then it brings me back to what Takita, the little girl in us, that little person inside of us as children who never had that opportunity or thought we had that voice. And a lot of things, we were manipulated in a lot of things because we didn't realize just who we are and what we had on the inside of us. So going back into that little girl, who you are, that stopped you, as she was saying, stopped you from doing this, stopped you from saying no, stopped you from saying I can't, or I don't want to, I don't feel like it. Go back and give, and look, and you can even go even further by saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry
yourself.
to myself. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm sorry to the little girl in me that did not know that she had a right to live, that did not know that she had a right to love herself. I apologize to her. And I think once we do that, Val, then it kind of wake that little girl, puts her to sleep, and then we can start from where we are now as being adults and setting those healthy boundaries.
And what you're doing is merging. You're giving that little girl permission to merge into this wonderful woman.
Absolutely.
Or man,
Absolutely.
we're talking about women.
Yes.
Merge her. Give her permission to say, I didn't like that.
That's right.
And merge her and remind her that you got her now.
That's right.
That you got her,
That's
that
right.
you can stand up.
That's
and
right.
that you have the strength. And it's just one day at a time.
One day at
it's
a time.
taking it back. It's saying that I'm important enough to say no. I'm important enough, and I am value if nobody else but to yourself.
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
You own your stuff.
That's right.
You're right, you're wrong, you're good and bad.
That's right.
We all make mistakes and we're all going to fall down. But when you start speaking life over you and you merge that little girl or that hurt or that betrayed little girl, whomever she is, and you give her permission.
And give her permission to be healed.
Hello.
Give that little girl inside of you, because like I said, using my daughter as she carried that from age 7, 8 up into in her late 30s.
Absolutely.
That's a long time. That's a long time to carry pain,
That pain,
brokenness, wound. That's a long time, and then not to be able to voice that. You know what I'm saying? So God don't want us to do that this morning. He wants us to be healed. He wants us to be delivered. He wants us to be set free, and He wants us to be made whole. So on that note, we're just thankful today. I am so grateful for my friend Valerie here. Two of us together.
Two V's.
Two V's. But she is just one of the most beautiful souls that I have been blessed to be a part of my life. I thank God for her every day. You know, she don't always agree with me. I don't always agree with what she says, but both of us, we know each other well enough till we know how to accept those boundaries. So Val, I just want to say on behalf of coming on the show today and in honor of Mother's Day tomorrow, I just want to say thank you so much for just allowing yourself to come and just sit with me to share your wisdom.
Thank you.
And, you know, I want you to have a beautiful Mother's Day tomorrow. You know, I love you. You know, we just talk. We see each other at work, and it's just like we haven't seen each other all year long, and we just talk. But I truly thank God for you. I truly thank God that I can say you are my friend. You know, and a friend who, I don't care what it is. I can talk to her. I can be myself around her. And she's the same with me. Absolutely. And I thank God for that. We don't judge each other, but we speak truth.
We hold each other accountable to growing into what God has for us.
That's right. So we're just so thankful. We want to wish every mother everywhere to have a beautiful Mother's Day on tomorrow. Listen, if nobody else love you, honey, love yourself. God loves you. We love you. And until next time, I want you to, if you have not already, go to my YouTube channel, My Tea for the Week with The Locust, and like that page. Join in this thing together called sisterhood, motherhood, as we get through this thing called life. So until next time, you all be blessed. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and spirit. Love yourself and love one another. And until next time, Val, cheers to the and improve you.